In 1895, a few months after Edson White and the Morning Star crew first reached Vicksburg, Mississippi, the General Conference decided to start a school for African Americans in the South. A committee was appointed to find a site for no more than $8,000. The committee, General Conference President O.A. Olson, Treasurer Harmon Lindsay, and G.A. Irwin, Director of the Southern District, stopped first in Chattanooga, Tennessee, at the home of Elder and Mrs. L. Dio Chambers, where they met the 21-year-old Anna Knight. Then they journeyed on to Huntsville, Alabama.
Morning, gentlemen. Welcome to the best real estate agency in these parts. How can I help you?
My name is Olson, and these men are Elder Irwin and Mr. Lindsay.
Yeah, how do you do?
Good to meet you.
We hope you can guide us to a suitable property for a school.
What sort of school would that be?
We want to start an institution for the training of colored people, something along the lines of the Tuskegee Institute.
Tuskegee graduates are assured of jobs wherever they go, and we hope to produce the same results. The school must be mostly self-supporting, so we'll need a large tract of land.
I see. May I ask what organization y'all represent?
We are members of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Well, I swan. My mother was a patient at your sanitarium down at Battle Creek. She never received better care.
Well, we've just come from Battle Creek.
I'll do everything I can to help. I think I know just the place.
Oh?
The old Beasley Estates, also known as the Irwin Farm.
Mm-hmm.
It's 360 acres, 5 miles northwest of town. It has several buildings still standing.
What buildings?
Well, there's the old mansion, a barn, and about 9 old slave cabins. Used to be quite a place. They say Andy Jackson himself stayed there more than once when he was fighting the Creek Indians in Tallapoosa.
Oh, really?
I'll tell you the truth, it's pretty run down now. But it can be built up again.
Mm-hmm.
The asking price is $7,700. Would you be interested in seeing it?
Oh, yes.
Elder Olson, careful of those brambles.
Thank you, Brother Lindsay. The place is certainly overgrown, isn't it? It'd take a lot of clearing and rebuilding to make it suitable.
Whoa! Oh, no, don't fall, Brother Owen. Afraid I wasn't looking where I was going. I've been counting those beautiful, stately oaks. There are exactly 65 of them. I'm sure this is the place we should buy. I suggest we call it Oakwood Industrial School.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, so do I.
Because of the agent's mother's good experience at Battle Creek, the church was able to purchase the property for only $6,700. Elders Olson and Irwin returned that winter to begin the daunting job of clearing and rebuilding. In no time, the General Conference president was busy plastering, while Elder Irwin acted as tender, mixing the plaster and carrying it upstairs. More help was on the way. First to arrive was George Washington Warsaw, a local African-American nursery owner.
Lived around here all my life, Elder Olson. I was born on this land back when it was called the Irwin Farm. Cotton gin was working every day when I was young. Cotton done wore out the soil, though.
Yes, we've noticed that much of the land is as barren as a rock.
Yeah, well, you need to get a good farm manager. Well, what I came for was to offer my services to help you clear all his underbrush.
We gladly accept, don't we, Brother Irwin?
Thank you so much, Mr. Warsaw.
George Graham's my name, and I'm from Birmingham. I want to go to school, but I don't have any money. Can I work my way, Elder Olson?
Yes, you can, Mr. Graham. In fact, I'm about to hitch up the mules to finish plowing this field. You can help me.
What's your name, son?
Grant Royston, Elder Irwin. I'm from Vicksburg.
Vicksburg? You've made a long trip.
As soon as I heard about this here school, I started out. I wanted to learn. Don't have no money, but I'll work. That is, if you'll let me.
You bet, Mr. Royston. Grab one of those paintbrushes and we'll tackle the inside of the old mansion.
All right.
Not everyone was so enthusiastic as these early arrivals. J.J. Mitchell of California, hired as manager, arrived at night and got his first look at the place the next morning. The prospect was so dismaying that he quit on the spot, though he remained for 2 years to help out. Then Grant Atkins came from Atlanta, and early in 1896, Solon M. Jacobs arrived from Iowa to serve as manager and principal. At the top of the needs list was a good water supply, so they could stop hauling water in barrels from a spring on the hill.
The windmill's turning, Brother Jacobs, but the water's stopped running.
The well's dry, Brother Atkins. We're going to have to find another solution. Do you have any suggestions, Mr. Warsaw?
Well, there's that old well by the house, but it's completely filled in with dirt and trash. I don't know how long it'll take you to dig it out.
We're going to have to try. How's it going down there?
Slow and dirty, Mr. Jacobs. This grade's mighty hard.
What was that, Brother Royston?
Another rusty old knife.
Just what we need. We're getting quite a collection of knives, pitchforks, plow points, and rocks. None of them worth a plug nickel.
Hey, this is something different.
What, Brother Royston, another plow point?
No. It looks like a spur.
A spur?
Is there something significant about that, Mr. Warsaw?
Well, now there's a story.
A story?
About some Yankee cavalryman who was buried in this here well.
Buried in this well?
No further evidence of the Yankee cavalryman was found, and soon the well was cleared and providing water for the school. Next, the farmland itself was built up by such methods as contour plowing, crop rotation, planting cowpeas to enrich the soil, and mulching with barn manure mixed with forest leaves and weeds. Production per acre steadily increased. Ku Klux Klan raids and lynchings were common throughout the South at this time. To protect the school, Jacobs cultivated friendships in the white community. One neighbor was won over when Jacobs asked his expert advice on Alabama-style farming. Another opportunity arose when a hostile neighbor's barn burned, destroying his mules, wagons, and harness, and leaving him no way to cultivate his 15 acres of corn. The next morning, Jacobs harnessed 6 mules, loaded 6 cultivators into the wagon, and with his son Bertie and a few of the men's students, drove to the man's farm.
Yeah? What you want?
Sir, these young men and I have come to cultivate your corn.
Cultivate my... is that the kind of man you are?
Yes, that's the kind of man I am. Why not?
Well, if that's the kind of man you are, I've got something to do.
Well, what's that, sir?
Mr. Jacobs, I've said some mighty hard things against you for starting that colored school. Now I ask you to forgive me for all I've said.
Why, I'd forgiven you long ago. If not, I wouldn't have been over here. I guess that's it for the morning, men. Dinner's in the wagon. Bring it over here under the trees. We'll eat in the shade.
No, sir. My wife's getting dinner. We have something to eat at any rate, and you all will eat at my house. All of you.
Another time, Jacobs and the students assisted Bird Terry, an African-American farmer, and later they put a white farmer's wheat in the barn before the rain. While cultivating the neighbors' fields, the school personnel were also cultivating a good relationship with the community, a relationship that would endure. Classes started at Oakwood Industrial School on November 16, 1896. The students shared a single copy of the reading textbook. Other conditions were equally primitive. The diet consisted mostly of beans boiled without seasoning, cornbread, and pumpkin. Church membership was only 20,000 worldwide, and financial resources were strained. So the school was forced to be mostly self-supporting. The school operated year-round to make maximum use of the farm and the other industries. Many of the first students came from the schools established in Vicksburg and Yazoo City. Oakwood's reputation for excellence grew. In 1901, Thomas Jesse Jones of the U.S. Bureau of Education said that Oakwood was the nearest to the government's ideal in the South. Students helped to demolish the old slave cabins and to construct the buildings that replaced them. West Hall, built in 1896, served for classes and a men's residence. A study hall was built 3 years later. But on October 11th, 1906, when W.J. Blake was principal, disaster struck.
More water! Pass the bucket!
Look out, the roof's going!
What can we do, Professor Blake? The whole building's in flames!
Oh, there's nothing more we can do. Pass the word to pull back. I don't want anyone getting hurt. Oh, the study hall is gone. Oh, we'll have to start over. Somehow. I've called the whole school together, faculty and students, to give you good news. We are going to build a new study hall. Adventists, North and South, have rallied to our support. I'm touched by the faith they've shown in our school. We've received enough money to purchase materials for a new building. A bigger one. That will include administrative offices, classrooms, and a chapel. Now, if I can only prevail upon the students to provide the labor... The student crews are doing an excellent building job. Oh, you must be proud of them.
I am. It's a real privilege for me to teach such bright and eager young students.
I'm glad we decided on concrete blocks instead of wood. This building won't catch fire so easily.
Not only that, but it gives us a good chance to practice our masonry skills.
The first nursing class graduated in 1909. The same year, the sanitarium was opened. Buildings continued to be added as the school grew, but finances remained tight. Living conditions were difficult. Oakwood was still a secondary school in 1912, the year the Titanic sank. It was on November 12th of this year that a 34-year-old woman arrived in Huntsville, determined to get a high school education. Her story gives a good picture of Oakwood at that time.
Are you Miss Isabella Cartwright, the student?
Yes. Are you to take me to Oakwood?
I am. The buggy and mule are over there. Give me your valise.
What do you do at the school, Mr. Crow?
Farm work. In the fields or in the garden. In the spring and summer, we milk and feed the cows, chop wood.
And how big is the farm?
About 500 acres now. We have 60 students in the school. More boys than girls, but we all work equally. Our classes are all at night when the day's work is finished.
What time do you get up to begin work?
We eat breakfast at 5:30. There's the entrance gate ahead. See the sign above the gate?
Oakwood Manual Training School. I'm here at last. It'll take more than a little cold and rain to stop me. I'm strong and healthy, and I've got $36 cash money.
I'm taking you to Old Mansion. That's where the girls live. But boys live in Butler Hall over there. That's the library and study hall. The dining hall's over that way. There's the sanitarium.
There are brighter lights in the sanitarium.
Well, they've got acetylene lights over there. In all the other buildings, we use oil lamps. They have to have good light to operate. Dr. A.J. Haysmith is the head of the sanitarium. Oh, whoa there! Whoa! Here you are. I'll just drop you off. I've got to get to my chores. Here's your valise.
Thank you, Mr. Crow.
Come in. I'm Miss Bertha Bartholomew, the matron. You must be Miss Cartwright. We're about ready to eat supper. I'll show you to your room, and you can come to the dining hall with us.
Isabella Cartwright.
Naomi? Naomi Warnick. I haven't seen you since Mississippi. It's been years. How is your father?
He's fine. Still working for the Lord. He praises the day he left Ohio. He's become one of the first Negro workers in Mississippi. And I'm thankful God led me to work for him here.
I'm so glad to see you, especially now. I don't feel such a stranger.
What's your job?
I don't have one yet. But I'll help you with the washing up after supper if that's all right.
Of course it's all right. We can have a good talk while we work. Careful of that hot water, Isabella. Don't scald yourself.
Oh, don't fret, Naomi. I certainly can handle hot water.
Isabella, please come with me to see Mr. Boyd.
Why, yes. Miss Bartholomew, I have $36. Is that what Mr. Boyd wants to see me about? Maybe it's not enough and he'll send me away.
Oh, no. He wants to give you some tests in order to be able to place you in the proper classes tonight.
Tests? Well, that's even worse. It's been so long since I've been in school and I never did get to go very much.
Here we are. Now, don't you worry now. You'll do just fine.
And what is the capital of Pennsylvania?
Harrisburg.
Very good. Well, let me look over the results here. Math scores. You're ready to begin high school work.
Oh, thank you.
You've just got time to get over to the study hall for the evening chapel services. Miss Bartholomew will decide about what work you'll begin tomorrow morning.
For the next month, Isabella Cartwright followed the school routine. Up before daylight for an early breakfast, working in the kitchen all day, and attending classes at night. She figured she must have done a satisfactory job, because Mr. Boyd never did ask her for her $36. Just before Christmas, 1912, Boyd called her to his office.
Miss Cartwright, I'd like you to take over the job of assistant matron of the dining hall. The pay is 12 cents an hour. I realize it means you won't have time for classes, but we really need your help. Will you do it?
Would I at least be able to continue my Bible classes at night?
Oh, yes. I think you'll have time for that. I know you want your diploma, but just think how much good you can do by teaching young girls how to work so they might lead useful lives.
All right. I'll take the job.
Good.
Isabella Cartwright came to Oakwood to get her high school diploma and stayed for the rest of her life. In 1917, she married Louis Cunningham, who died just 3 years later. Alone, she reared their son Charles and saw him become a teacher working with Anna Knight. Mrs. Cunningham continued to work at Oakwood as matron of the orphanage, boys' matron, laundry supervisor, girls' preceptress, domestic science teacher, and guidance counselor. She even received her high school certificate in 1936. In 1948, the new women's dormitory, Cunningham Hall, was named for her. Oakwood became a junior college in 1917. In 1933, James L. Moran became the first African-American president of the college. In 1946, Eva B. Dykes, an associate professor at Howard University, came to head the English and Literature department. Dr. Dykes, who received her Ph.D. degree from Radcliffe College of Harvard University, was the nation's first African-American woman to complete doctoral requirements. The college population has doubled since the 1950s, and the annual alumni homecoming, begun in 1967, draws Oakwood graduates back to the campus from all over the country. After being closed for a year, Battle Creek College reopened in the fall of 1883 with W.H. Littlejohn, the blind pastor from the Dime Tabernacle, as president. The college grew under W.W. Prescott's administration from 1885 to 1895. Electric lighting was installed in 1896. The next year, E.A. Sutherland was called from the presidency of Walla Walla College to head Battle Creek. With him came his faithful supporters, Percy T. McGann and Miss M. Bessie DeGraw. "The conservative man will never be a reformer," was Sutherland's watchword, and he and his supporters set about to reform Battle Creek College. Sutherland's reformers bought an 80-acre farm for vocational studies, established 15 elementary church schools in 1 year, and dropped the traditional classical course from the curriculum. They even stopped granting degrees. Tensions developed between Sutherland's group and more conservative church leaders. Ellen White encouraged Sutherland, but when he decided to use the Bible as the only textbook, she cautioned him against going to extremes. At the 1901 General Conference, she inspired the delegates with her talks about Avondale School in Australia.
Ah, there you are, Sutherland. Miss DeGraw and I have been looking for you.
I'm glad you dropped by, McGann, Miss DeGraw. I've been sitting here thinking about Sister White's talks on the work in Australia.
I wish we could have a school like Avondale College, one that teaches manual arts as well as religion and intellectual subjects.
My thoughts exactly, Miss DeGraw. But it's not possible with the small amount of land we have here. We're so hemmed in by the town.
If only we could move this school like we proposed in 1898.
The frustrating thing is knowing Sister White agrees with us, yet has advised us to wait.
It's true that the college debts are heavy.
Well, I'm going home to sleep on it. Maybe I'll have an idea by morning.
Percy, who's pounding at the door?
I can't say, Ida. I reckon I'll have to go find out.
Good morning, Professor McGann.
5:30 in the morning, to be exact, young fella. I trust you have a good reason for waking me from a sound sleep.
Yes, sir. Sister White wants to see you.
Indeed. I'll dress and be there as fast as possible.
You're in a mighty hurry, Percy. Are you expecting good news?
Not really, Ida. Remember, I said I lived in Sister White's home for a while when I was a student here?
Yes.
Well, I was scared to death every morning that she would have had a vision in the night telling what a devil I was.
Oh.
Maybe it's finally happened.
Thank you for coming, Brother McGann.
Of course, Sister White. You had something to say to me?
You remember when you and Brother Sutherland talked to me about moving Battle Creek College out of Battle Creek? I told you at the time not to do it. Now I am ready to tell you to do it.
You are?
What we'll do with the old plant, I don't know. I think possibly we may be able to sell the sanitarium. I don't think even then that we'll be able to realize enough to pay off anything on the principal. Perhaps we'll get enough to pay its debts. We'll have to go out empty-handed. It's time to get out now, for great things will soon be happening in Battle Creek.
Later that day, April 12, 1901, Ellen White stunned the conference delegates by urging immediate removal of the college to a country location. The vote to move was unanimous, and the search for a site began immediately. Sally Sutherland and her husband crisscrossed southwestern Michigan on their bicycles. Although several places were considered, Sutherland had his heart set on a spot he had visited 2 years earlier. On a lovely May day, he and McGann rode their bikes 20 miles from South Bend, Indiana, and crossed the bridge below the village of Berrien Springs, Michigan.
Sutherland, that's a mighty high bluff at the end of this bridge. Now, you can do what you want, but I'm jolly well going to get off and push my machine.
Good idea, McGann. I was just going to suggest it myself.
You said you were in Berrien Springs in 1899?
That's right. Mrs. Henry persuaded me to join her here in addressing a Chautauqua on the subject of temperance.
What kind of town is it?
A small market town. Used to be the county seat. Lost out to St. Joseph in 1894 because Berrien Springs doesn't have a railroad. It's still a resort for vacationers from Chicago, though.
We've reached the top. See, what's that large building on the corner?
That's the Orinoco Hotel. It was floated here on the river from Bertrand some years ago. It's a busy place in summer, but empty during the winter.
Sutherland, is that a tree in the middle of the road?
Yes, and not the only one in town, either. The people of Berrien Springs love their trees, and they've refused to cut down some of the biggest and most beautiful ones. They just drive around them.
Well, we said we wanted a rural place. How much farther is the Richardson farm?
Roscoe Dix wrote me that it's about 2 miles out of town, just next to Edgar Garland's fruit farm. 2 more miles of sandy roads. Mount up, McGann. Too bad we can't get Garland's farm as well. It's in much better condition, a real show place. It would be wonderful if we could persuade him to sell.
Now, Mr. Garland is eager to have the college move to Berrien Springs, you said?
That's right. He's a prominent and civic-minded citizen, and he's convinced the college will be good for the town. There's no other college in the whole county.
Well, then, Shuren, we'll have to encourage him to talk himself into selling.
McGann's encouragement evidently worked, because Garland agreed to sell the farmland and Stevens Woods as well. About a month later, Sutherland, McGann, and a few associates stood with Garland beside the farmer's gate.
We're very pleased with the land you've shown us, Mr. Garland.
You may look for a site from here to Traverse City, but you'll not find one equal to the bluff out there overlooking the river.
Agreed, Mr. Garland. Will you accept this $5 as an option on the farm?
And that I will, Mr. McGann. And I sincerely hope you pick up the option in the near future. Good day, gentlemen.
Good day,
Thank
Mr.
you, Mr.
Garland.
Garland.
Well, gentlemen, let's return to Battle Creek and present our decision to the brethren. Again, it was good thinking to offer Garland that $5 bill.
'Tis a good thing he accepted it. It was the only one I had.
Sutherland was so sure the property would be approved that on July 1st, he had the college property packed into 16 freight carloads and moved to Berrien Springs. On July 15th, his faith was rewarded as the new board of college managers, chaired by Dr. Kellogg, met in Berrien Springs and voted to purchase 272 acres for $18,000. A letter from Ellen White, which arrived after the meeting, confirmed the correctness of their decision. Since Battle Creek was 90 miles away, it seemed appropriate to rename the school.
Professor McGann?
Dr. Kellogg, I move we adopt Homer Salisbury's suggestion of Emmanuel Missionary College.
And spell that with an E. Emmanuel.
Thank you, Miss DeGraw. Do I have a second to the motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Christensen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Professor Sutherland, when do you propose to begin classes in Berrien Springs? Next fall?
Absolutely not. We'll begin this fall.
So soon?
Impossible.
Can't be done.
I don't believe
No, continuity is important. If we wait for a year or even a term, we'll lose students to other institutions. Of course, there's a lot of work to be done, so we'll put off the opening date till October 30.
I agree with Professor Sutherland. It will take a lot of work, but we can do it.
How do you propose to accomplish this feat? We have no buildings. Tents are all well and good for the summer schools and teachers' institute we've planned, but they just won't do for the winter.
The old county buildings in town are standing empty, Elder Prescott. I propose we rent them for offices and classes. As for student housing, we'll advertise in the Era, asking village residents to rent to our students.
Sutherland and McGann had ambitious plans, and there were many factors against them. Lack of time and money. McGann's near death that summer from typhoid, difficulties in securing faculty, and continued opposition from some denominational leaders. But they were young, determined, and convinced they were on the right course. They were also backed by faithful supporters, such as Miss DeGraw, Christian M. Christensen, the farm manager, the doctors Edwards, Mr. and Mrs., and Joseph H. Hoy, former principal of South Lancaster Academy. Emmanuel Missionary College would open on time. Emmanuel Missionary College was to be definitely parochial instead of secular. E.A. Sutherland intended the institution to be a training school for missionaries, and for that reason he emphasized that only mature students ready for advanced education were expected to attend. School opened in the village of Berrien Springs on October 30th, 1901, with 50 students. Some say 40. A visitor to the school at that time would have found some unusual arrangements.
Miss DeGraw, I want to thank you for showing me over the premises like this.
We're glad you've come to visit our institution, sister. This is Dean McGann's office.
Oh, Dean McGann, is it? From the sign on your door, I should address you as Sheriff McGann.
Yes, and Miss DeGraw here as your honor. She's been promoted to probate judge, you know.
Yes, I noticed the sign in her office, too. Is this building all offices?
Oh, no. The science and math and music classes are taught upstairs. We even hold some classes in the old sale area.
In jail cells?
Oh, there's no better place in which to begin reform than in jail.
You do seem organized. That lovely white Greek revival building across the way is the old courthouse, I take it?
Yes. We've turned the courtroom into a chapel. Downstairs are more classrooms in the library.
Mm-hmm.
We organized a college congregation, Emmanuel Missionary College Church, the day after school opened.
Do you really think a school in the country will be successful?
Yes.
Doubtless we have reached an era in the educational work. The exodus from the cities has begun.
But what about the students? Have you been able to find enough rooms to rent in such a rural place?
Ah, that was a bit of a problem, it was. But the night before classes began, we were able to rent the Orinoco Hotel. We pay $40 a month for about 50 sleep-in rooms, several large parlors for study halls, and a kitchen, a dining room.
A hotel?
Mm-hmm.
how can you keep the young men and women from indiscriminate social mixing when they live in a hotel?
We've bolted the door between the men's and women's sides of the residence floor, and the study halls are, of course, strictly segregated by sex.
Well, where are all the students now? It's mid-afternoon, and I haven't seen hide nor hair of anyone else about the grounds.
They're all over at the campus. We have classes from 7 a.m. till noon and manual labor in the afternoon. Everybody works. Now, Professor Sutherland's over there right now, and Miss DeGraw and I shall go over soon.
Each member of the faculty heads a work group. Some are picking and canning fruit, some are tending the farm animals, and others are clearing brush. But everyone is doing something.
That winter, enrollment reached 103. The church school was opened December 5th, 1901, on the ground floor of the 1839 courthouse, where Ella Osborne taught 16 pupils. The mortgage was paid off by June 1902. Because Ellen White donated the income from Christ's Object Lessons, the school was sometimes referred to as the college in the country built by a book. Although finances were still tight because of the debt remaining on the old Battle Creek College, it was time to build.
I'm distressed to report that in spite of all the clearing work done by Brother Christensen's crew, we'll not be able to build on White's Point after all.
Oh, no.
I can't believe it.
It's not possible.
After all that work.
Why not, Professor Sutherland?
Unfortunately, we cannot obtain good, usable water at reasonable cost in that location. We'll have to build back from the bluff on the flatlands. It's not so bad a change if we think about it. This way we'll have more room to expand.
And we won't have to carry the bricks so far.
No bricks. We'll build with wood.
No bricks!
We want brick buildings.
Professor Sutherland, wood catches fire too easily. Brick buildings are safer.
Fire won't be a problem. The buildings won't be heated.
This is Michigan.
It's cold. Must have heat.
This is a training school for missionaries. We want our buildings to be simple and small, without heat and electricity, for that's the kind of buildings our students will find in the mission fields. Now, our carpenter, Mr. Baird, has prepared some drawings.
It was intended that students could work their way through school, and many helped in the construction of the college buildings. They did their best, but when the domestic arts building was finished, it turned out to be 22 inches narrower at one end than at the other. Their building skills improved, and in 1903, 12 young men built, shingled, and painted the cannery in a single day. That same year, the study hall was finished, and its distinctive onion dome was the symbol of EMC for nearly 50 years. Living conditions in these early years were rigorous. Listen to student Fred Green.
Oh, sure we have running water. I just fill my pitcher at the pump and run as fast as I can to my room in the attic.
And 18-year-old Mae McChesney, writing in her diary on a January day.
Tried to get courage to take a cold bath, but room was so cold that my courage failed. Ugh, my fingers are stiff.
A night school was provided for those who had to work their entire way. The long hours of work, combined with strict adherence to the 2 meals a day plan, however, resulted in considerable drowsiness during evening classes and assemblies. Student-faculty committees met weekly to consider matters concerning fuel and light, law and order, boarding, and the farm. A strong supporter of this plan was school treasurer, former missionary and Sutherland's aunt, Mrs. Nellie Rankin Droulard. She also supported Sutherland's suggestion to add a 5th committee.
And I think we should consider adding a business management committee. What does our treasurer have to say?
I believe in beginning a financial department, having teachers and students upon it, and making them responsible for the finances of the school.
Thank you. Yes, Dean McGann.
I strongly agree with the proposal, President Sutherland. For years I've been regarded as the financial man of the school. Whenever teachers and students have wanted anything, they've appealed to me for it.
Every time.
A spirit has grown up that they have nothing to do but to vote to buy something, and then McGann will go and get the money. Now, I don't believe this is good for the school. I think much more careful habits can be inculcated into both teachers and students by having this department on the same basis as the others.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Why, yes. This plan could lead to each student keeping his own financial account with the college.
A grand concept. It will train students in business management as well as end the burden of keeping student accounts in the business office.
Before this suggestion could be carried out, however, Sutherland and McGann's administration met its final crisis. There had long been criticism of their policies, especially such extremes as not granting degrees, and the one-subject method, whereby each student studied one subject intensely for 10 weeks before moving on to another course. But above all, Sutherland and McGann's friendship with Dr. Kellogg and A.T. Jones opened them up to charges of desiring to operate independently of denominational control. From May 17th to 27th, 1904, a heated session of the 3-year-old Lake Union Conference was held at Berrien Springs. Ellen White arrived on the river steamboat May Graham, along with her sons Willie and Edson. Also present were General Conference President A.G. Daniels and other denominational leaders. During one acrimonious meeting, just a few days after McGann's wife died, he and Sutherland resigned with the intention of going south to labor. Ellen White, while not opposing their resignation, rebuked the spirit of criticism that prevailed at the session.
Brother Sutherland and Brother McGann do not go from this place as men who have made a failure, but as men who have made a success. The students that have been with them need not be ashamed of the education they have received. Will not you, who have been accusing your brethren, come off Satan's ground? It will not blister your tongue to speak words of tenderness and kindness. Amen. For over 20 years, the work of the southern field has been held up before you, but you have not done for the work what should have been done. If any students and workers here desire to go with Brother McGann and Brother Sutherland, let them go and help them to carry the light to a class of people that has been suffering with neglect and poverty.
I hate to see you leaving for Tacoma Park, Brother Baird. So many others have already gone to Tennessee with Professors Sutherland and McGann, there will soon be none of us left here who came from Battle Creek.
Well, Brother Howie, the thing is, I don't really have anything to do here. We have the cement to build the student cottages Professor Sutherland wanted, but all that's finished with, now that he's resigned. With the General Conference headquarters in Tacoma Park now, that's the place for a builder to be.
Maybe you'll run into Sutherland or McGann there. They've already been making trips here, there, and everywhere, trying to arrange the opening of their teachers' training college in Nashville.
Yes, they and all their supporters are eager to get on with the new school. Even Mrs. Drew Lard. Imagine, 60 years old, and she's just as energetic and enthusiastic as the youngest of them.
She is a true mother in Israel, never tiring in her service to God. Her financial acumen is phenomenal, and she uses it all for the Lord. But I'm concerned about what will happen here now. We need a change in policies.
Ah, you're singing a different tune, Howie. You were such a strong supporter of Sutherland and McGann in the beginning.
I'm not saying I've changed my mind entirely, but... Well, for one thing, we need administrators who will give a plan time to really demonstrate its effectiveness before declaring it a success or a failure.
Like the one-study plan?
That's got to go. It's thoroughly unscientific, and those 3-hour evening sessions were grueling for teachers and students alike. The cooperative plan was also burdensome. Now, I'm not favorable to that. It's just a great machine.
You may have something there. Here comes the Maygram. Thanks for seeing me off, Hoy. God be with you.
And with you, brother.
Sutherland remained for 41 years at the Nashville Agricultural and Normal Institute, which became Madison College in 1937. At age 89, a year after his wife's death, he married his lifelong friend, Bessie DeGraw. He died 2 years later. McGann remarried and with a family left Madison in 1916 to take over the College of Medical Evangelists in Loma Linda, California. In 1910, under President Otto J. Graf, Emmanuel Missionary College secured a new charter, which permitted it to grant degrees, and in 1922, an academy was organized as a department within the institution. When the Theological Seminary and the School of Graduate Studies were moved to Berrien Springs from Washington, D.C. in 1959, EMC was renamed Andrews University in honor of J.N. Andrews, the denomination's first overseas missionary. After the Great Conference of 1901, Ellen White had hoped to settle down at Elmshaven to write, and in 1902, Volume 7 of Testimonies for the Church was printed. For much of 1903, however, she was occupied with the pantheism crisis in the church. In 1904, she agreed to make an extended visit to Tacoma Park, Maryland, where the new denominational headquarters was being set up. Exhausted in mind and spirit, the 76-year-old woman dreaded the journey. But after several nights of prayer, she received rest and reassurance. Her traveling party arrived in Washington on April 27th.
Sister White, it's so good to see you again.
Hello, Brother Daniels. How nice of you to come aboard to meet us. You remember Sarah McInturfer and Maggie Hare?
Indeed I do. Welcome, sisters.
Thank you, Brother Daniels.
Good day, Pastor Daniels. And the man passing our belongings out the window is Clarence Chrysler, another of my secretaries.
Hello, Elder.
And Willie's outside the window. He's piling our belongings on the baggage truck.
Let's go to the Surrey, then. As soon as we get loaded, we'll head out to Tacoma Park. We've rented Carroll Manor for your party, Sister White.
Carroll Manor?
It's a 3-story house with 18 rooms out in Tacoma Park. Major General Samuel Sprague Carroll built it just before the Civil War. After the war, Grant, Sherman, and McKinley often visited there.
My, it sounds like an interesting place.
Perhaps. But it's been in need of some refurbishing. Right now, it's full of people cleaning, painting, and repairing. But don't worry. A hot dinner will be waiting for us.
Oh, that's fine. We carried plenty of food with us on the train. Fruit, nuts, boiled eggs, jelly, turnovers, and bread. But after 6 days, we're ready for a real meal.
Spot on.
Ellen was busy in Washington, inspecting the property for the new headquarters, sanitarium, and college, writing letters, and working on manuscripts. She spoke in churches, all white, all black, and racially mixed, stressing the need for unity of the believers. In May, she traveled to Michigan for the controversial 1904 session of the Lake Union Conference. Then she traveled south on the Morning Star with her sons Edson and Willie and Professors Sutherland and McGann, looking for a site for a school property. She found it near Madison, Tennessee.
But, Sister White, the land is so expensive. The Fergusons want $12,723 for their 400 acres.
True, Brother Sutherland, but it includes the standing crops, 100 acres of good bottomland, and all the stock and farm implements.
Sure, and we'd really hope for something better for less money. Isn't it so important to be close to Nashville?
Yes, Brother McGann. I have been instructed that the lands on which our school shall be established should be near enough Nashville for there to be a connection between the school and the workers in Nashville.
Well, if you're that sure, Sister White, I'm ready to go ahead. How about you, McGann?
Yes. Let's inform the real estate agents so we can get the Ferguson signatures.
There you are, sir. I hope these Yankees enjoy our farm.
Thank you, Mr. Ferguson. Now, Mrs. Ferguson, if you'll just sign...
I'll never sell to a Yankee.
Oh, dear.
Sister White, the agent has met several times with the Fergusons. Mrs. Ferguson is now willing to sell, but she's demanding an extra $1,000.
Since we've all prayed for guidance, some of us feel this is an indication that we should withdraw from the sale.
Do you think I'd let the devil best me out of a place for $1,000? Pay the extra $1,000. It's cheap enough. This is the place the Lord said you should have.
On her return to Washington in July, Ellen inspected A.S. Baird's progress on construction at the college. Where the basement of the men's dorm was completed, an excavation was in progress for the dining hall. On August 11th, 1904, she and her party boarded a train for home. She spoke in several places along the way. In Omaha, she met a layman named Jasper Wayne.
Sister White, thank you for agreeing to meet with me.
Of course, Brother Wayne. I'm told you have a plan for soliciting funds for missions.
Yes. I often travel in my business, and when I'm on the road, I distribute our literature. About 2 years ago, my order for 50 copies of a special issue of Signs of the Times was mistakenly duplicated.
100 copies? Well, were you able to distribute them all?
Yes. And I collected money for all of them by explaining that all of the money collected would go to the missions. By the time all the copies were gone, I had a good donation to make.
That's very interesting. And you think this method could work on a larger scale?
Exactly. A well-organized campaign would greatly increase the funds available for missions.
Brother Wayne, this sounds like an excellent plan. We must contact conference officials so you can explain it to them.
In 1908, Jasper Wayne's ingathering plan was recommended to all the churches in the denomination. After this meeting, Ellen returned to Battle Creek for a time. Her party finally reached California in early October, only to find Marion Davis critically ill with tuberculosis at the St. Helena Sanitarium. Although she rallied slightly on seeing Ellen, Marion died on October 25, 1904. Ellen was generally cheerful, but she had her down days too, such as the time she received a visit from Will Sadler, former director of Kellogg's Evangelistic Medical Mission in Chicago.
Brother Sadler, how are you enjoying your medical studies in San Francisco?
Very much, Sister McInturfer. It's very different from my duties as director of Dr. Kellogg's medical mission in Chicago.
I'm sure it is.
But rewarding. I look forward to being a doctor myself so I can help people when they ask, what can I do?
Brother Sadler, what can one do for a blue day?
Excuse me for a moment. I have to get something from the other room to answer that question.
What could he be going after, Mother?
I'm sure I don't know, Sarah.
Here, sister. This is a book called Steps to Christ. I recommend this chapter, What to Do with Doubt. If I were you, I'd read this chapter.
Oh, you. Well, excuse me. I have some writing to do.
Sister White, I thank you for allowing me to participate in your home worship.
It's a pleasure to have your company, brother. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must go to my room. I retire early.
Oh, let me help you up the stairs.
Oh, no, thank you. I'm quite able to go alone. Why, I'm as spry as when I was a girl. As when I was a girl? More so. When I was a girl, I was ill and frail and in pain. But now the Lord has strengthened me all these years, and I am better, far better than when I was a girl.
Often, as Ellen moved about Elmshaven, her helpers could hear her singing "The Better Land," an old Advent hymn written in 1845. On Sabbath, February 13th, 1915, she was entering her study when...
Oh, and Ellen, what happened? Are you hurt?
Oh, May, I tripped.
Let me help you up. Careful now. Oh, okay. I'll lift you into this rocking chair. Easy now. There. Oh, now hold on while I drag this chair over to your bedroom.
What do the x-rays show, Dr. Klingerman?
I'm sorry to tell you, Elder White, that your mother has an intrascapular fracture of the left femur.
Oh, a broken hip?
That's right. She'll need care. Who's with her?
Sarah McInturfer and her niece May Walling, both trained nurses.
Ah, good. I'll also send over Mrs. Hungerford from our sanitarium nursing staff. And I'll arrange to have a hospital bed sent to Elmshaven. We'll make her as comfortable as possible.
On March 3rd, Ellen had her last vision, and Willie was called to write it down. Her burden was for the youth.
We should select for them books that will encourage them to sincerity of life and lead them to the opening of the Word.
Yes, Mother, I have that. Rest a moment if you need to.
I do not expect to live long. My work is nearly done. Tell our young people that I want my words to encourage them.
It's a lovely June day, Mother. I'm glad you're well enough to sit out here on the upstairs porch.
So am I, Sarah. I enjoy it so much.
I see some more visitors coming, so please finish your food.
Oh, I've had enough.
Oh, come, Mother. Won't you eat just a little more?
Well, Sarah, I wouldn't want to die before my time by overeating.
This isn't a good day for her, Elder White. She has more and more days when she's not aware of those in the room. She doesn't eat. She's wasting away.
I do not suffer much, thank the Lord.
Mother.
It will not be long now.
On Friday morning, July 9th, she was strong enough to talk with Sarah McInturfer and Willie White. He prayed for her.
Mother?
Yes?
We will trust all in the hands of Jesus.
I know in whom I have believed.
Those were her last words. A week later, on Thursday, July 16th, the nurses sent for Willie and May White. As her breathing slowed, friends and family members came to her room, one or two at a time. Sarah McInturfer, May Walling, and Carrie Hungerford remained at her side. Her breathing continued to slow, and at 3:40, it stopped. Funeral services were held in San Francisco, Battle Creek, and on the lawn at Elmshaven. On October 24, 1915, she was laid to rest beside her husband. Perhaps Ellen White's best memorial are her own words, often spoken as she displayed her books and papers.
Here are my writings. When I am gone, they will testify for me.